Hello, soulmates. You're now listening to Peppersoup Stories meant to soothe the souls of women everywhere.
Okay, so what's key for me here is Toni Morrison said, if you need a book and you can't find it, that's your invitation to write it. In this way, our podcast is meant to address a gap. People, women in particular, sit in circumstances and allow the circumstances to define their level of joy or lack thereof. In addition to hearing our personal stories, you'll be hearing about domestic abuse and violence, how it triggered the journey of pain to purpose, how career transition, 20 moves in 26 years, was made into a pepper soup that has nourished and fed many, how workplace harassment moved to trauma, and how that trauma allowed this young lady to move from victimy to victory. Painful loss in love led to intimacy coaching. A cancer diagnosis triggered a purpose-driven living. How undiagnosed ADHD in herself led her to explore and develop coaching and counseling methods for family and others. How geologists turned into a food curator, and how her migration story helped this real estate mogul use her real estate to help others on their immigration journey. All of this happened by reframing adversity into advantage. And this podcast is meant to help you see your peppers from a different perspective. It's meant to help you just take another look at it and not be so inclined to let how the rest of the world looks at situations be the way that you choose to look at it. Help you realize that how you see a situation is a choice, and we want to equip you with tools and frameworks that allow you to reframe it, because our feelings come from where we focus. And if we find a different way to focus by reframing, right, what we see as a particular, maybe a pain, how do we make it into a purpose? Or how do we make it into something that's powerful and can shift our lives? In my own personal stories I'll be sharing shortly, I want you to just to be able to shift from being nowhere to being now here. And what I mean by that is NOWHERE. Those are the letters. And if you're sitting in front of that, you have a choice to see it as nowhere or now here. Our podcast is meant to help you to shift any nowheres that you may have in your life. We want to give you that pathway, give you the belief, give you the inspiration, give you models and role models that will help you to see that you have the potential to define your now here. It's leveraging the power of perspective. Perspective is how we choose to see a thing. I like to, and I teach my clients and any team I've ever worked with, I help them to realize that the truth is like a diamond. In the center of the diamond is the truth. But every facet of the diamond that I may look through, the center of that diamond may not look exactly the same. That doesn't change that what's in the center of the diamond is truth, is fact, is whatever. But the way that we choose to look at it can give us a different feeling. And those feelings lead to beliefs, and those beliefs lead us into taking action. And if we can begin to equip our soulmates to have that strength of perspective taking, that strength and practice of saying what other choices are available to me for how I look at a certain circumstance, then that would have met the purpose of what we're trying to express in the world. Some of my pepper stories are simply as a child, and it's funny that it's around the time that I lost my mother. I lost my mother 1980. I was a very young teenager, and she happened to die very close to Mother's Day. And what I would say, in my walk this morning, a squirrel crossed in front of me, and it triggered in me so much emotion that it took me back to my 13-year-old self and the root of my hatred of squirrels. Anybody that knows me personally knows that I've had an issue with squirrels most of my life. And let me just explain the genesis and tie it back to the skill and the importance of reframing the stories of your life to find that I'm now here, and that now here is a good place. I would say my mother died very suddenly, right? So there was no expectation. She'd been ill. It was like taken away. And she was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. And we were being told she was going to come back home, everything, Um, but she never did. And I remember maybe years before, we always heard this noise in the wall, noise in the wall. And I had just become accustomed to it. I tolerated it. And then we had seen that we would, it was a little break in the wall where squirrels would crawl in. And that's what was running around in the wall. And they would go out, and it was just like this intermittent thing. And we just tolerated it. Daddy tried to block it. He put a board up, and they still found their way in. But this morning in particular, I was home and Mom was in the hospital, and I heard, the running in the wall, but it like stopped. And I went into the living room and saw the squirrel perched on our mantelpiece where we hold all of our special things, our family pictures, and, any special awards. In that special place, I saw this squirrel. Nobody was home but me, and I was petrified. I was like, this danger that had been in the wall was now in my space, and there was no one to protect me. There was no one I could call to come and rescue me. And it was in that moment that I discovered self-reliance. It was in that moment that I realized that I could not let that squirrel control how I felt, how I acted. I needed to be able to look inward. Little did I know that Mama would never come back home. But I realized I couldn't call Mama to rescue me. Daddy was working. I couldn't call him off his job and say, "Hey, there's a squirrel in the mantelpiece." My brother and sister were away at university and college. So if it's to me, it's up to me. At that point, and it wasn't until this morning that it really came to me, is that pepper in my life of that squirrel coming in. Yes, I've had a hatred for squirrels. I've recently released, because all beings have a place and a role on this earth. And I accept and love my brother and sister squirrels now. But that experience allowed me to realize help may not come, that I must be my own help. And that has driven me throughout my life. So if you can see how petrified and scared I was, used to being able to call for help and help would come, but realizing in that moment that I had to be the help that I needed. This for me helps me when I think about, early in my career, I was in a role, I was the first Black female engineer at Harley-Davidson in the largest facility in York, Pennsylvania. And each morning, I was in an acting role as the continuous improvement lead. And each morning, once a week, I would have to meet with the vice president. And while it was nice to bond and all of that, it was like, okay. I had wow, I was writing a lot of stories here. Very okay. Let me just see if I can just summarize it. Um, I reflected back on this story some years ago. Let me just see if I can pull it out now. I was taking the key into the ignition, still dark outside, chill in the air. I had to warm the car a bit before I pulled it out of the garage. It gave me a little time to settle myself. I hope I don't fall asleep, I said to myself, because it was slightly before 4:30 a.m. and I had driven in late for my MBA class the night before. I'm in South Central Pennsylvania, Reed, small town USA, Amish country, and I'm about to take off to one of those weekly 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. meetings with the Vice President of Assembly and Special Operations. Let's call him Frank Gatsby. I work for the best U.S. motorcycle manufacturer in the world, Harley Davidson. How many people can say they work for a way of life? I've been with the company 3 years. Frank has been heard saying that we threw Patrenia in the deep end with sharks, and we're pleasantly surprised to see that she survived. Chuckle, chuckle. I worked in what you would call a fast-paced, heavy manufacturing setting. I wore steel-toe shoes, safety glasses, earplugs, jeans, and I swear, Harley had enough t-shirt giveaways that I had a branded shirt every day for 2 weeks without repeat if I wanted. I was female, so every now and then I switched up and wore a feminine shirt. But back to this Tuesday before daybreak. While I waited for the car to warm up, my inner voice was on freestyle asking, why do I have to go through this again? Why can't we talk during regular working hours? Isn't 7 a.m. early enough? This is just like the fifth grade when they wanted to evaluate me for the gifted and talented program. My mother had to drag me in kicking and screaming, so I was so sure they would find out I was wanting. They would find out what I already expected, that I was not normal. Why is it then you are leveling up? Why is it when you are leveling up that people want to look deeper into you? I was telling myself so many things, often contradictory. Don't show your real self at work. Keep it strictly business. They are still all white men, and you are the very first Black female engineer they let in. Don't you let your guard down, girl. Then the other voices said, I can't believe I'm being invited to the big house, building one, where all the big wigs sit, and Frank is taking 1 hour out of his crazy schedule to talk to me. Little old me, get into my head. Won't it be good to get on the inside for a change? Maybe if I share a little, he will too. I know the other guys meet with him too. I wonder what they talk about. Frank is a champion ass chewer. I'm glad I have surplus. I was a 29-year-old engineer in an acting step-up role as a continuous improvement leader, also known as the engineering manager. All the engineers reported to me. Responsible for day-to-day operations and strategy for Harley-Davidson assembly operations, over 600 people. This job represented a jump into the big time. Career band 3 stock options start at this level. But you better believe they make you work for it. I did it for 11 months. It was an honor to be asked to act in the role. It showed they had confidence in me. Dick Messi, my former boss, had been promoted to the new plant construction project. Another alias. Basically, the headline was that in 1997, or maybe 1996, we smashed it. We were tasked to double our production in 5 years, and we did it in 3. And I was a key part of that. It was a big deal. And to be able to be at that point is at so young in my life, and only after 3 years at the company. There at 5 o'clock in the morning, and mine was once a week, where I would go in and have the opportunity for him to get inside my head. At least that's how I felt. And you can look at it and see there's getting to know you better. That can mean you build relationships beyond the task of the job. And he is basically trying to see if they can trust me with more responsibility. Trust is linked to knowing your value system and better understanding you. All these things are what's described as the reason why you now get to have one-on-ones. All of Frank's direct reports met with him one-on-one weekly. Good morning, pleasantries exchange. We spoke for a few minutes when Frank put that left hand on his forehead, and I knew something really bad or really good was coming, and that's when he said it. We have been wondering where you get your confidence from. I couldn't see myself, but I could only imagine there was some wrinkled brow on my face. When Frank asked me that question, what he didn't know was every week I probably hoped he would send a message that he couldn't make the meeting. As I climbed building 1 steps, I still had building 2 beliefs about my level. My heart would be pounding, boom, boom, sometimes like it was coming out of my chest. When I finally reached the top of the stairs, 2 levels may as well have been 20. I would wipe my brow, run to the bathroom in that mirror, pump myself up, sing the songs that lift me, tell myself the stories of my successes, almost anything I had to do to get out of the bathroom into his office. That knock came, the knock. Come on in, Patrenia. Oh shit, he showed up again. Damn. Last prayer for a last minute no show. All right, here we go. On stage again. What role are they expecting? Do I measure up? I had a comfort in doing the work, but to be in a one-on-one conversation that was really an evaluation and exam I could not study for. As I climbed, not because I was out of shape, but because I was saying to myself, will he find me out? Will something I say or not say tell him I'm not worthy of this position? What is the right answer or the answer they want to hear? Only was lonely. I had so much second guessing. So when Frank asked, I have been trying to figure out what makes you so confident. My inside conversation was, what confidence? I'm walking on eggshells right now. My outside conversation was, confidence? What do you mean? My thought was, I don't know. The bigger question for me was, as a white male on top of the food chain, why don't you have confidence? With so many images validating you, why would you ask me and be amazed by my confidence when I lack models to validate me in this site? The company's largest, with over 2,000 people, where no other Black female engineers have ever been, or city where less than 5% of the population is Black or brown like me. He went on to share with me experiences in his upbringing that he believed made him not as confident as he sees me being. Wow, vulnerability. There it is. He let his guard down. So now it was my turn. I had to tell him, one, it may have something to do with my Old Town Library discovery of Black history when I discovered that Black people who look like me overcame adversity. I thought I looked a little like Barbara Jordan and Mary McLeod Bethune. Number 2, I never really thought deeply about it. I just knew I had to have it if I was going to survive. If I fail, will you ever hire another Black female engineer? And 3, the influence of my dad, who told me I could do anything I put my mind to. Frank, that's where we got deeper. His father didn't share that narrative with him. He had a very different upbringing. A trailer was mentioned. Who would have known that he was just a regular guy with puzzle pieces that didn't all come together perfectly? By sharing more of me, he shared more of himself, and we got to understand and respect each other better, which I believe was the whole point. So, making your presence felt, even if you have come down with the little imposter syndrome, and taking what I saw, my original was nowhere, right? This perception that I was going to be analyzed and found none worthy shifted into an opportunity for us to learn and get to know each other so much better and to improve our working relationship. It's like vulnerability. I like to think of it as people are icebergs, and what you see above the water is kind of what we choose for you to see. It might be so some things we can't control, but we often play an ego, which is a false image of ourselves, but we decide what we want to project because those are things that people can see and experience. But down below the water, in fact, only 1/9 of an iceberg is above the water. So 8 ninths of who the person really is below the water. It's only when we choose to lower the levels of the water and reveal ourselves, be vulnerable, that we're able to, one, potentially knock walls down and make them bridges. So I share this story to invite you to be comfortable in looking harder, differently, and introspectively at these difficulties that we have. In our podcast Soulmates, we call them peppers because pepper is a main ingredient in pepper soup. It would not even have a name or the flavor without that sharp thing that makes your eyes water sometimes. But when you eat it, when you have a cold, it helps to make you well. When you give birth, we eat it to tighten our wounds. When we have malaria, we eat it, it helps to soothe us. The belief and understanding that we can go from adversity to advantage, from pepper to pepper soup, from nowhere to now here. That's the reason that we are putting together this podcast, assembling our friends, people in our networks. New people are even reaching out to us because there's so many stories that need to be told that resonate with you and will help to fill a need so that you can go further, faster, higher, further, and live out the potential that God has seeded. That's what Peppersoup Stories for the souls of women is all about. It's my pleasure, Patrenia Wurtzel-Naha, Coach P, Mojo Queen, to be sitting in with my partner, Coach J, Ejemen and bringing to you twice a month Peppersoup Stories, and we hope that they soothe your soul. Thank you.
I'm Jay, and my co-host Patrenia and I are delighted to share this space with you. This podcast is a journey through the challenges, triumphs, and everyday experiences that shape us as women. Today, I want to start by sharing a personal story, one that deeply resonates with me and, I hope, with many of you as well. It's a story about taking a career break, navigating the demands of work and motherhood, and discovering invaluable lessons along the way. Taking a career break was something I never envisioned for myself. Growing up, I watched my parents work tirelessly, rarely taking a moment to rest. They embodied the relentless hustle, and naturally, I thought my career path would mirror theirs. Steady, uninterrupted, and unyielding until retirement. But life had other plans for me. At 27, I faced a unique set of challenges that demanded a different approach. My journey into motherhood began with the birth of my first son, who is now 23 years old. So after my maternity leave, I dove into a new role at a bank, a commercial bank, stepping into my first job as a mother. Living in Lagos, Nigeria, a bustling metropolis with over 22 million people. Navigating the daily grind was no small feat. Lagos mornings started at the ungodly hour of 5 a.m. The city's dense population meant that getting to work required a variety of creative transportation methods, from okadas, motorbikes, to keke mawas, tricycles, and mulwes, mass transit buses reminiscent of American school buses. In fact, they were painted yellow. Each day was a journey in itself, filled with the hustle and bustle of city life, where even your commute could double as a shopping trip or a mobile sermon from a passionate preacher. I was fortunate to find a friend at work who lived nearby and offered to give me a ride, sparing me some of the daily commuting chaos. However, our work hours were grueling, often stretching late into the night. Leaving before 8 p.m. was frowned upon, which meant I frequently found myself yearning to get home to my baby, devising small tricks like leaving a jacket on my chair to give the illusion of my continued presence at work. You see, my role in the corporate banking unit was demanding, with endless meetings and constantly shifting strategies. It felt like we were always in a reactive mode, mimicking competitors without a clear direction. As a junior employee, my voice went unheard, and the exhaustive nature of the job often left me questioning my place there. We were required to produce lengthy, detailed reports for loan renewals, filled with what seemed like unnecessary information, adding to the strain. Just imagine that. So just think about that, right? Sometimes, amidst the chaos, we find brief moments of clarity and laughter. Amidst this chaos, my colleagues and I found moments of levity. They would weave elaborate stories about potential deals to placate our superiors and buy some time. This cycle of storytelling and reality checks became a coping mechanism for many of us trying to navigate the relentless pressure of our role. Just trying to provide for us what seemed like unnecessary information. During this tumultuous period, I received an acceptance letter to start an executive MBA at the prestigious Lagos Business School. Despite my initial hesitation, I decided to invest in my growth, recognizing that my current environment would not foster my development as a business leader. However, my enthusiasm was soon dampened by an unexpected confrontation with the group head of HR, who deemed me unfit. Can you imagine that? For such an advanced program given my junior status. Faced with an ultimatum to either quit the program or lose my job, I chose to step away from the bank. It was a difficult decision, especially with the financial implications, my loss of income, and the weight of my family's expectations. My father, who had always envisioned me as an independent career woman, struggled to understand my choice. My mother, on the other hand, offered her heartfelt support, recognizing the toll my job had taken on my well-being. Have you ever made a decision that went against the expectations of those around you? How did it feel to stand by your choice? Support systems play a crucial role in this moment. Henry, my supportive partner, stood by my decision, even though it meant financial adjustments. Soon after, I found an unexpected opportunity at my business school. While the initial job offer was financially untenable, it led to a serendipitous connection with a classmate who worked in HR at a multinational company. This contact opened the door to a new career path, one that took off thanks to the skills and knowledge I gained from my MBA program. Reflecting on this journey, I realized that sometimes taking a step back is necessary to move forward more effectively. My career break was not a setback, but a strategic pause that allowed me to grow and thrive in ways I hadn't imagined. It taught me the value of investing in myself and the importance of being open to new opportunities, even when they call me challenges. Telling my parents about my decision was hard, especially my dad, who wouldn't, who couldn't imagine me transitioning into the role of a housewife after investing so much in my education and career. My mother, however, was ecstatic and told me, "The last time I saw you, your house was no longer a home. You are taking the right decision, and I'm proud of you. Think about the times when you've had to make a difficult choice for your well being. How did it impact your life?" These moments often define our paths and lead to unexpected opportunities. My fervent wish was that I would never have to return to that bank. As luck would have it, one of my classmates in LBS, Lagos Business School, a senior HR leader in a multinational company, he asked me to send my resume to an assessment center. This has led me to a career in HR for the last 20 plus years, a field that has taken me around the world, an assignment in London, so many travels, conferences in the United States, trips around Africa, the major cities in Africa, and provided numerous opportunities for growth and fulfillment. Reflecting on this journey, I realized that sometimes, as I said, taking a step back is necessary to move forward more effectively. My career break was not a setback, but a strategic pause that allowed me to grow in ways I'd never imagined. It taught me the value of investing in myself and the importance of being open to new opportunities, even when they come with challenges. As I wrap up this episode, I hope my story resonates with you. I encourage you to embrace the pauses in your life. They might just be the catalyst for your next great leap forward. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity in disguise, and sometimes the most significant progress comes after a period of reflection and growth. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to sharing more stories and insights with you in our upcoming episodes. Stay tuned, soulmates, and remember, every challenge is an opportunity in disguise.
And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share with a friend, leave a review, and connect with us on social media. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, soulmates, stay inspired, keep growing, and turn life's peppers into a flavorful soup. Connect below. Bye-bye for now.